Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I-Man here from the Block Runner MetaZone, Roby and MScribe, and today we're going to be talking about some more NAT.
We're on a NAT spree, dude.
The non-arbitrary token that is the greatest token ever made besides Bitcoin.
Yeah, next to Bitcoin. One day future, I can see it, dude. I see it in my dreams. You go to coingecko.com, and you see NAT one day in the top 3.
Yes.
I see it too. And some people in the market are starting to believe, right?
Yes.
Something that's happened since the last time we talked about NAT, the price has gone up pretty significantly.
Yeah, so about a week ago or a few days ago, we noticed that Antpool moved some NAT tokens.
Yeah.
And sold it on Ordinal's wallet.
Yeah. Yeah, so we laid out like all the on-chain forensics, right?
Yeah.
To kind of prove that actually happened. And it's an undisputable event. It happened, and like we were talking about initially, I don't know, like the magnitude of the gravity of that didn't really hit as hard as it should have, like immediately. But eventually, it caught up to. I was like, hold on a second.
Yeah,
this is a pretty big deal. This validates a lot from like a theoretical perspective, like what it is NAT is.
Yeah,
and what it is it can be into the future, right? And if one miner is on board in the understanding of how this thing functions, you can assume more will follow. Right?
Yeah, correct.
Therefore, strengthening the value proposition over time. So we're going to kind of break some of this stuff down because, even though price is going up.
Yeah, that wasn't all that happened last week. There's some FUD around it too.
Yeah, I mean, that's natural, right? It's like people see the price of a thing that's kind of been dormant for a while. Like a lot of the Bitcoin ecosystem stuff has been dormant. And to see NAT like perform the way it has, I think it's done like a 3x in a week or two.
Yeah, it's interesting when NAT goes up, all of a sudden we get more DMs and
people wake up, right? That's tends to happen in these markets, right? It's as numbers go up, more eyeballs get attracted to it. People who have been already buying this stuff during the dormant periods, they're happy. Mm-hmm. So they go to Twitter and they want to let everybody know how happy they are and how you see.
Yeah.
Should have just listened to my alpha calls, dude. I'm killing it over here with my predictions.
So give me one of the FUD vectors for us to dispel it. What's the first one on that list there?
Okay, so FUD vectors, if you don't know what FUD means, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? It's what people do if they're not like they're sidelined. Yeah. And they see something going up, it's like, trust me, guys, this isn't going to go up forever, and here's why, right? So one of them being the supply is too big.
Yeah, right? So let's take a look. Supply is too big, right? So let's take a look at what's in the market with a significantly high market cap that also has a supply that's too big. Mm-hmm. And we're looking at Shiba Inu, and the total supply is 589 trillion tokens. Mm-hmm. And NAT has 367 trillion tokens, but Shiba Inu, its fully diluted market cap is $7.2 billion.
Today.
At its peak, it was $40 billion.
Yeah. So this is just to paint the picture that, there are other tokens in the market, and Shiba Inu is not exclusive to this like trillion token supply tranche. There are others out there, right? Mm-hmm. But this isn't like some barrier for the market to kind of like gravitate towards. Actually, in some cases, people actually tend to like or favor tokens with a larger supply just because of the unit bias, right?
Yeah.
If some say Bitcoin, the reason why there's no retail adoption anymore of Bitcoin, it's more of like an institutional play at this point, is because of that unit bias. Where
one token is $120,000.
Yeah, so perceivably for most of retail people on Earth, they see that and they think it's like uninvestable at this point. It's like because they don't really understand.
Yeah, I don't want 0.1 of a Bitcoin.
Yeah, it intuitively you just don't understand Bitcoin can be broken down into like little fractions of ownership, right? Yeah. It's just so you got friction there for most people.
Correct.
So they go to their Coinbase, your crypto retail apps, and they see other cryptos that are listed, like an XRP.
Yeah.
Which is currently at, let's see,
like $3 or
$3.
Yeah.
I got $3. That's a unit of account I could participate on. And then hence click on XRP's chart. I mean, it's been doing pretty well this cycle so far.
Yeah.
This seems to be what's garnering retail's interest, something that's more like in their ballpark of perceivable affordability, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Not realizing
Yeah.
what the hell they're even
It's
they're
not
buying.
Bitcoin.
It's not Bitcoin, but still, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, so we got a website here, Crypto Notes. This is top 5 inflationary tokens.
Okay, this is another big one.
Yeah.
Right. So if you don't understand, break down why, first of all, NAT, see, we like to call them expansionary tokens,
Mm-hmm.
but nonetheless, people will perceive this as an inflation, right? And in this day and age, inflation is like this evil term, especially because it factor in what's happening to the dollar.
Yeah.
With rampant printing and rampant dollar issuance. It's like,
Yeah.
the perception of inflation is very bad, right?
Yeah, I mean, inflation can be a good thing. And the reason why we call it expansionary is because we want the network to grow. It's actually a good thing that more people are adopting it, and therefore it's more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
So expansionary is a good thing. Inflation can be a good thing. But the reason why it expands not arbitrarily through the propagation of additional blocks.
Right.
Right. So as soon as more blocks are added to the Bitcoin blockchain, there are more NAT tokens. What's interesting about the NAT token is that as hash power increases, the rate of inflation decreases. So there's less propagation, there's less introduction of new NAT tokens. So why this matters is because we want the hash power for Bitcoin network to increase, because once the whole world is relying on Bitcoin to be the store of value, you don't want to store your value in a chain that can get compromised through a 51% attack or through any other means where the security goes down, right?
Yeah.
So we need, everyone has a vested interest to increase the hash power of Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's cool is that as hash power increases, the NAT inflation decreases, and now you have a sort of inverse relationship, which plays really well to the token price.
Yeah, and I think it's so people have I think initially around NATs, because NAT, has been in production essentially as soon as the first block of Bitcoin was mined, right? So during the earlier stages of NAT's production, from around inception of around 2009, 2010 till to today, roughly like a 13% or something like that inflation that has scaled down over time to today. I think it's between 4 to 6%, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And this continues to play out, like you're saying, as long as the hash rate increases. And if you understand what is the main contributing factors to that, like being an inevitability and it growing at an exponential rate, it's what, the rate of technology, and the ability to produce more energy. Right?
Yeah, that and all those two things are exponential.
Yeah, well, produce more energy more efficiently, right? Meaning at some point we're going to figure out fusion energy, right?
Yep.
And then these technologies will be incorporated into the hash rate production.
Yeah, and if you don't know what fusion energy is, it is the production of electricity through the fuel called seawater.
Right.
There's a lot of seawater on Earth, right? And you're converting seawater to electricity. That's kind of like infinite amount of energy.
Okay, good. So then we could assume this, because if you look at a hash rate chart, I don't know if you could pull one up. Like they're pretty. You look at one if you try to correlate this hash rate chart to, like, I don't know, some sort of asset chart. It looks like something that's like bubbling, like topping out. It's just very straight up, right? But if you understand what it actually is representing, and like Moore's law and all these other different technical projections as far as where we're going to go for advancements of energy efficiency and such.
Yeah.
You could assume it's going to keep going up, right?
Yeah, so here we are. We're looking at 2010 all the way to 2025, and hash rate only go up. And that's sort of what you want to continue going.
You do.
And the issue here is that if you look at the mempool, which I don't know if I've ever seen this before, but we're looking at 0 sats per VByte for, 21,000 transactions, paying practically 0 sats for the transaction. And if you go back in time, you could see pockets of empty blocks. So what does this mean? If you've never seen this, this means that very little people are using the Bitcoin blockchain, and those that are paying nearly 16 cents for a transaction. And this is this is supposed to support the network long term, right?
Right.
Transaction fees.
Correct.
And to me, this doesn't look very favorable for Bitcoin's future if we are relying on transaction fees.
100%. Yeah. So, so back to the inflation argument, though. It's okay. So we've established that NAT has an inflationary component to it, but it's not arbitrary in the sense it's not like some programmatic diminishing inflation rate. It's all dependent on essentially the success of the network.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
To contributing more energy
Mhm.
allocation to securing it over time. So you can that inflation rate will at some point will be less than 1%. So that kind of very much mitigates this FUD vector in a sense. But even in light of that, there's still other major assets in the crypto market with their own inflation rates, right?
Yeah. So top 5 inflationary tokens: Ethereum, Solana, Dogecoin, Polkadot, and Shiba Inu.
Yeah, and here's their current day market caps, I think.
Yeah, 160 billion, 12, 8, 7, and 6.
Yeah, so there you go. There's some
inflation
information
doesn't
to play
seem
around with.
It doesn't seem that bad to me.
Yeah, especially if you can, again, incorporate over time. So just by the nature of the property of the bits field, it will reduce over time on its own.
Yeah.
But the assumption here is to build an ecosystem around NAT itself that can then leverage NAT into their own ecosystem designs or whatever, and potentially take NAT out of circulation as a result, whether it's through staking, buy and burn mechanics, which we're starting to see becoming much more popularized in crypto.
Yeah.
There are going to be a lot of apps in the future that will be leveraging NAT for this very, use case.
Right.
Therefore, adding a deflationary pressure to the token, which over time, if there's a much more reduced emission rate, plus adding in these deflationary pressures, it could reduce the supply.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. And that is going to be dependent on like the success of these apps leveraging the NAT token. All right, so let's talk about another FUD vector. And so essentially, if the NAT token is being redistributed or distributed to miners, and they sell the token, isn't the miner selling tokens a bad thing?
I've been hearing that a lot.
And so I was thinking about that too, and I was like, well, the only reason you have Bitcoin in your wallet is because a miner sold that Bitcoin to begin with.
Correct. Yeah, this has been a feature to Bitcoin since the beginning, right?
Yeah. So Bitcoin miners have been selling Bitcoin since the beginning of Bitcoin, and as you can see here, numbers still only go up.
Yeah. Yeah, this added sell pressure that for whatever reason people are equating to NAT is like it's some insurmountable sell pressure that's going to be bestowed from the miners, and we've already seen one miner activate this. Like they accrued a balance of NAT over a 5 to 6 month period, dumped it all on the market.
Yeah,
guess what happened? Price rallied.
Yeah,
number went up, guys. So this whole sell pressure thing, I get it. Instinctively it seems like a bad thing, but guess what? Everybody does when they buy tokens. At some point, they sell them. This is what markets are for. But it's all about whether or not like the conviction of the market and the narrative of the token behind the token, what it is that it's doing, the mission that it supports, whatever. If it's a utility token, is it supporting some sort of broader ecosystem? These are the things that's going to instill confidence in the market to get people to want to buy it in the first place, right?
Yeah,
and offset the fact that some miners at some periodic point in time, they're going to, of course, have to sell this to subsidize their operation.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's Antpool. They are the first miner that had received the NAT token to begin with 5 months, 6 months ago. And they were the first one to transact the NAT token as well. As you can see here, they've acquired 1.6 trillion of these NAT tokens, and they've sold the majority of their position there. But as you can see here, they sold it back when the price was way lower, and when they sold it, the price went up.
Yeah.
And so, that is a counter like point to when miners sell, number go down.
Correct. Yeah. So this is functioning in the same way Bitcoin functioned in its earliest of days, right? And it's fun to kind of like look at these charts, go back in time.
Yeah.
And like really revisit the historical price action of Bitcoin. in context of this whole time, while the price is fluctuating in an open market environment, Bitcoin miners are dumping their Bitcoin and selling.
This is interesting. This sort of looks like the chart when Bitcoin went to $20,000 and then it crashed to 3,000. Remember that? The
2017 cycle?
Yeah, 2017. This is when we started the podcast in 2017. But when you zoom in at the time here, it's not 2017. It's 2010 all the way to 2011.
Yeah, we're talking like, what is that?
And it peaked at $25.
Yeah. I mean, that's insane. So we're waiting for one of these for NAT, right?
Yeah. And and then you kind of zoom out and it's like, this is just insane.
Yeah, you just have different periods of different onboarding events, essentially.
Yeah.
Right? Initially, it's just a cypherpunk community of people who understand how to run nodes in the Bitcoin network, and they're mining Bitcoin early on.
Yeah.
Then at some point, different exchanges start to come in to support this stuff, so you don't have to be a miner to get your hands on it.
That's right.
Now you could just be a market participant. You understand the core problem that Bitcoin is addressing. Mm-hmm. The narrative around that is like, hey, there's a money system here that is flawed.
Yeah.
And we should try and create a digital version of that, but make sure we solve core issues like double spending and such. And here it is. So you have belief and conviction in that, buy some, and therefore numbers starts to go up.
Yeah. So now the next FUD that we're talking about is like, why would anyone buy this?
Yeah.
And you're saying it's the narrative.
Is there a narrative that's addressing some sort of big core problem that most people, for one, aren't aware of? Like most people throughout time in history weren't aware that there's an issue with money, right?
Yeah.
Even today, even now that Bitcoin's at 120,000 and like inflation is really stepping it up.
Yeah,
I think most people still don't really know the core problem.
Correct.
Right?
Because if they did know, there would be more than 3 or 4% of the world population holding Bitcoin.
It's true. There'd be more Bitcoin buying happening from most people, right? Not just institutions.
Yeah. So let's play this video on why you would buy this. For the same reason you buy Bitcoin is for the narrative. It solves a problem with money, the separation of state and money. That's sort of important, right? Now countries can't just print more money if it's completely backed by Bitcoin. It has a different systemic application to money. And so the narrative behind why you buy Bitcoin, you'd find a narrative where you would want to buy NAT token, and that narrative is that nobody's using the network. And if nobody's using the network, how are the miners going to sustain the network when there is no transaction fees long term?
Correct.
Right, so here it is.
4 years, miners' rewards are slashed in half. Miners secure the chain, so rewarding them is vital. Without them, Bitcoin's future would be at risk. Currently, the only direct reward that miners receive is the Bitcoin mined from each block. Activity on Layer 1 protocols, such as ordinals and runes, drives some additional revenue to miners in the form of transaction fees. But these are indirect rewards, so miners never get to share in the upside of tokens themselves. But this is about to change. The emergence of digital matter is set to revolutionize the Bitcoin miner revenue model forever, as it now enables additional block subsidies to be driven directly to miners on top of their standard Bitcoin rewards. NAT, the first DMT asset ever created, will become the first additional token paid to miners. The NAT token leverages DMT in a unique way. Issuance decreases as Bitcoin's hash rate increases, which perfectly aligns miners' incentives, because the more secure the chain becomes, fewer new tokens are created. This is made possible because the track network indexes Bitcoin data, including the bits field, which encodes mining difficulty. So as that number fluctuates, the production of DMT tokens is automatically regulated by Bitcoin. This groundbreaking incentive mechanism is being pioneered by the TAP protocol so that all DMT tokens launched on TAP can opt into rewarding miners directly. This will birth an entirely new breed of mission tokens that will directly contribute to Bitcoin's thermodynamic security. TAP protocol is on a mission to support the miners, secure the chain, and protect the future of Bitcoin.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done, Benny and team. Very good.
Yeah, such a good explanation.
So that's it. That's the core thesis and narrative around this token, right? Which, if you understand crypto, that is everybody's attempt when you launch a token, right? Whether it's WorldCoin, your Sam Altman. It's like, you know what? We need a crypto coin that everybody has to prove their
humanity,
their human state, so that in a future where AI, I guess, is like taking over, maybe like a main component of the economy, it's like at least human beings have like some sort of sustainable vector, right?
Right.
Some share of the human pool of value. So there's a narrative, right? And then crypto's full of them, right?
Yeah. All right, so let's continue on here. So Tap Protocol token is actually the number one trading in the leaderboard for a long time on Ordinal's wallet. So Ordinal's wallet now supports the Tap wallet.
Yes. Yeah, so this is a FUD vector is, there's just not enough exchange support. Like we talked about in Bitcoin's earliest days, Bitcoins were being distributed, but there wasn't really like a market environment to support the growth of that, the market in itself. So NAT is kind of like in a similar state, but there are platforms stepping up to provide more, user-friendly features and tools to trade this stuff, right?
Yeah, so Ordinal's wallet is one, Hyperball is another one, SatX another one. So there's places to actually acquire this asset.
Taproot Swap.
Taproot Swap as well.
There's a little nifty video here of like a mobile trading app experience. So this thing's accessible mobile.
Yeah.
Right? So it's good. Like it's starting to increase, and there will be more down the line. There are still some exchanges trying to figure out how to incorporate this into their technology stack so they can get more access points, right?
Yeah, so Tapalytics as well is another platform that supports Tap tokens, and you can see the chart for the NAT token there.
But this is a big one here is, okay, some people are probably the last one that we could bring up, at least for today, is the technical dependencies.
Yes.
Of it all, right? Is like, this is a meta protocol token, you would say. So there's some differences between how this is all maintained versus the traditional network setup of Bitcoin itself. And then in even more broader sense, people are questioning like the open source of it all, right?
Yeah, so the data will be validated using peer-to-peer decentralization and consensus mechanisms, indexers, validators, and peers, and different roles and each of the rewards. And so one of the questions here is, so we redacted the gentleman here who's inquiring this question. People in the community are very optimistic about DMT NAT, but the only point they are worried about right now is the fear of evil from the project side afterward. So fear of evil is just a way to say is like if something isn't open source, then you can do some finagling in there to adjust some parameters, and all of a sudden you kind of rug the community. And so so this is a question to Benny, and Benny responds, I understand that, and we're close to releasing the P2P network with the indexing. So approximately in 2 months, it is also coming with Tap as rewards for indexing, so all open source, of course.
Okay, so we're getting closer to that point, right, where these dependencies are mitigated, and it's, the sustainability of NAT itself, it starts to more closely align with Bitcoin, right? Where it becomes a distributed peer-to-peer network that's really, validating and indexing and,
So there's going to be a token. You'll earn Tap tokens when you become an indexer of this node network, and you are incentivized to become that network through the Tap token. But in that incentivization, you are supporting the NAT token, and it's decentralized awareness.
And other DMT tokens. Keep in mind, NAT isn't like a one of a kind.
NAT cats and Royals.
Yeah, all the different UNATs. And at some point in the future, I'm sure, as NAT continues its upside climb and success in the market, keep in mind this whole miner redirect functionality at the token protocol level, it is accessible for other token deployers, right? So who knows? Maybe at $1 billion market cap for NAT, you could theoretically imagine other people would be inspired
to launch subsidy tokens.
Yeah, to discover other interesting commodities within the Bitcoin substrate, of the data substrate, that maybe have more interesting properties than what NAT has.
It's no different than when Satoshi launched Bitcoin, and people saw that and be like, "Hey, I can do some other stuff with blockchain."
Yeah, I'm Litecoin guy. I forgot his name. Is it Charlie?
Charlie Lee? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Litecoin guy. I'm just going to increase the supply by 4x, right?
That's right.
And maybe some other block size considerations or something. And here it is. Here's another cryptocurrency, right? And here we are 10 years from that point, and there's millions of them, literally. So So who knows? Maybe there could be like a rush within the market itself to try and discover these new properties. They become indexable, therefore you have new non-arbitrarily producing tokens. They're all rooted to Bitcoin, and some of them can be redirected to miners as well. And
Yeah.
you've got an active market essentially along the ride trying to support this mission ethos.
Yeah.
right?
So to close the thought here is, why do you think it's important to reach $1 billion market cap for the NAT token?
I feel like that's just like a critical mental threshold. I don't know if human beings tend to really like ones and zeros,
Yeah.
right? I remember how big of a deal it was when Bitcoin first crossed 10,000. It was like insane. It didn't feel that same at 100,000
it
for
didn't.
whatever reason.
Yeah.
There's just less like real people paying attention to this stuff as there was at 10,000. But nonetheless, yeah, I think at that point it legitimizes everything, right? At
Yeah.
$1 billion market cap. And you've got that enough of that upside momentum from people who were there in the early days, which are today,
Yeah.
who become converted into longtime believers who will actually put in the work to make sure that this thing continues to grow
Yeah.
and champion the narrative and get people to become aware. It's like, hey, if we're going to underpin a lot of our financial system on this Bitcoin thing, let's not be, our heads buried in the sand
Yeah.
about these core issues that need to be addressed, right? Because if we don't, and then things start to inverse in the wrong direction, we're talking about major systemic risks.
Yeah. I
Right.
totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we think we can actually get the NAT token to $1 billion. For that, I think we all, if you're watching this video, definitely ping non-KYC. They're sort of falling off and sleeping a little bit at the wheel. But definitely send this video to these guys and show them that there's market traction on the NAT token. Hopefully it'll wake them up and get this listed on non-KYC.
Mhm.
And yeah, we're going to continue our discussion on NAT tokens here indefinitely because we think it's one of the most interesting tokens that exists in crypto.
Mhm.
Solves a big problem that most people aren't talking about, that everybody will be talking about eventually. And yeah, road to $1 billion. It has already started.
Yeah. So again, we're going to add some Telegram links and stuff in the description. So there's always conversations happening in there. People tweeting, putting out the narrative, right? Anybody can contribute from that end.
That's right. All right, guys, that's it for us. I appreciate you for watching, and we will catch you in the next video.
Peace.